Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that follow button. And I would love for you to share this on your stories and tag me so that I can say thank you. Today, we are talking about something that will change the way you look at your progress, and that is the subconscious mind and self sabotage. Because if you ever said, I don't know why I keep doing this, I do so good and then I fall off, this episode is for you. We're going to break down the difference between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind and how that plays directly into self sabotage, especially when it comes to fat loss. So, what is the conscious mind? Let's start simple. Your conscious mind is the part of you that makes decisions. This is the part that says, I'm going to track today. I'm going to hit my protein. I'm going to go to the gym. This is your planner, your thinker, your goal setter. It's the voice that listens to this podcast and says, yes, I want to change. But here's the problem. Your conscious mind only makes up a small percentage of your daily behavior. So, what is the conscious mind? Let's start simple. Your conscious mind is the part of you that makes decisions. This is the part that says, I'm going to track today. I'm going to hit my protein. I'm going to go to the gym. And if this is you from a science standpoint, this is largely your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision making, planning, impulse control, and delayed gratification. This is the higher level thinking part of your brain that weighs options and considers the long term outcomes. But here's the problem. Your conscious mind requires effort and energy. It fatigues throughout the day. The more decisions you make, work, kids, schedules, stress, the more depleted it becomes. This is often called what I call decision fatigue that comes in the evening and maybe in the afternoon. So in the morning, your mind is strong. I'm going to stick to the plan. And by the end of the day, after stress and decisions and fatigue, that same voice is quieter. And that's where your subconscious steps in. Another piece of this is willpower. Willpower is not unlimited, it's a limited resource. It comes and goes in waves. And studies show that as willpower decreases, people just automatically default back to those habitual behaviors. So even when your conscious mind is where your goals live, it drives a very, very small percentage of your actual behavior because it can't compete with repetition. So let's kind of walk through this. It's Monday morning, you're motivated, you've listened to my podcast, you've pre-tracked your day, your conscious mind is fully in control. All right, now let's fast forward to 8 p.m. You've worked all day, you've ran your kids all over the place, you made a million decisions, you're tired, and your conscious mind says, stick to the plan. You already hit your goals, but your brain is fatigued. And that's when the subconscious takes over. Just grab something quick. You deserve this. You had a long day. You were all on your feet all day cutting hair. You deserve this. It doesn't matter today. And before you even process it, you're eating something you didn't plan. And not because you don't care, but because your conscious mind ran out of energy and your subconscious filled the gap. So what is the subconscious mind? Your subconscious mind is your autopilot. This is where your habits live. This is where your patterns are, your emotional responses. So if you're an emotional eater, this is where your habits live. And I'm telling you, this is what runs about 90 to 95% of your day. So while your conscious mind is saying, I'm going to stay on track all weekend. Friday morning, you're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stay on track all weekend. your subconscious might be saying, weekends are for relaxing. Weekends are for fun. Weekends are for YOLO. Weekends are for letting loose. I always treat myself on weekends. It's time to, have ice cream with the kids and go to that burger place and enjoy pizza. And then I'm going to sit around the fire with my husband and have drinks. I'll start over Monday. And guess which one wins? The one that's been repeated the most. So, why does this matter? You don't act based on what you want, you act based on what you are used to. Let me say that again. You don't act based on your goals, you act based on your patterns. So if your pattern has been eating great all week, letting loose on weekends, starting over Monday, that's what your brain will keep bringing you back to because it's familiar. Remember, I talk about those tracks in your brain at neuroplasticity? Okay. It's firing over and over. So remembering that the subconscious mind is your autopilot, that's where your habits live. That's where the repeated patterns are. That's where your emotional responses are when you emotionally eat. And that runs about 90 to 95% of your day. So this is tied to that automatic process in the brain, especially the basal ganglia, which that is what stores habits, good and bad habits. It also stores the neural pathways that have been strengthened through repetition. The more you repeat a behavior, the more efficient and automatic it becomes. Your brain literally wires it in so you do not have to think about it. So your brain wires it in so you don't have to think about it. So while your conscious mind, your prefrontal cortex, the decision making part of your brain is saying, I'm going to stay on track this weekend, your subconscious mind might be saying, weekends are for relaxing, weekends are for drinks, weekends are for pizza and burgers and ice cream. I always treat myself on weekends and I start over Monday. And again, guess which one wins? The one that's been repeated the most. Because our brain prefers comfort. Our brain prefers efficiency. It likes efficiency over effort. It will always default to the strongest, most practiced neural pathway. So think about your life and think about the repeated patterns. You don't act based on what you want, you act based on what you're used to. So if your pattern is eating great all week, letting loose on the weekends, starting over Monday, telling yourself you're no good, telling yourself you've done this before and you've failed, your brain's going to keep bringing you back to that because it's familiar. And it's familiar, and your brain likes to feel safe. And there's also a dopamine. I've talked about dopamine quite a bit. It's a dopamine, there is a dopamine component here. Your brain has learned to associate certain behaviors like weekend eating, weekend drinking, sadness, depression with reward and relief. So when Friday hits, your brain starts anticipating that reward. Friday afternoon, you're sitting at your desk, you're feeling good because you know it's Friday, you're almost done with all of your tasks. Your brain starts anticipating that reward, making it even harder to choose differently. So let's just talk about maybe a real life example. Maybe this is you. It's Saturday afternoon. You've been on track all week. Your conscious mind says, I'm going to keep this going. I want to see progress. I don't want to see the scale go up on Monday. But your environment and your pattern kick in. You're at your kid's soccer game. You're at a party. You're sitting around the fire. You're just home relaxing. You're doing yard work. And your subconscious recognizes the situation and says, this is what we always do here. And without even thinking, you grab snacks, you grab the beer, you stop tracking, you reach in the freezer for the ice cream, and it feels automatic because it is. And that's your basal ganglia running a stored habit loop. The cue, Saturday. The routine, eat, drink, relax. The reward, dopamine, comfort. So even though your goal hasn't changed, your behavior follows that same loop. That's why it feels like you're, air quotes, a different person on weekends. You're not. You're just running a different program than during the week. So let's talk about self-sabotage. What is it? Self-sabotage is when your actions don't match your goals. You say you want to lose weight, but then you overeat. You say you want to be consistent, but then you skip the gym. And that's not because you don't care, it's because your subconscious is running the show. So when you think about that, your brain is wired for efficiency and safety. It wants to save energy, avoid discomfort, repeat what's familiar. So when you're trying to do something new, like tracking or saying no to that neighbor that always brings over all the drinks on Friday night. So when you're trying to stop at enough until, instead of stopping until full when eating, it feels uncomfortable. That's why they say, growth is right outside the comfort zone. It feels uncomfortable. And your brain pulls you back. And that pullback is the self-sabotage. So when you think I always fall off, weekends don't count, I'll start over Monday. I've already messed up, so I should just throw in the towel. I deserve this. So if these thoughts sound familiar, that's your subconscious talking. So what do we do? How do we start to change this? You don't fix this by trying harder. If somebody just says, I'm just going to try harder. I'm going to try harder this weekend. All right, that doesn't work. First, you have to become aware, right? Step one, notice the pattern. When did you fall off? What time? What situation? Then you need to catch the thought. What are you telling yourself in that very moment? Number three, you need to interrupt it. Instead of all or nothing, ask, what's the next best choice? That might be tracking anyway. That might be having one drink instead of five. That might be eating until enough, not full. Step four is repeat. This is the part people skip. You don't change your subconscious overnight. You change it by doing something different over and over and over again. Just doing it one time doesn't work. You have to do it over and over and over again. So why does this structure work? This is exactly why I teach pre-tracking, having a plan, keeping it simple, because structure will override autopilot. When you're already decided what you're doing, you do not have to rely on willpower in the moment. So as we know, nutrition is the driver of weight loss, not exercise. But your mindset and your patterns are what keep you consistent. We know consistency is the magic pill. We have that consistency calendar in the clubhouse and in the shred. Your mindset and your patterns are what keep you consistent. You can have the perfect macros. I can set you the perfect macros. But if your weekends are unplanned, your subconscious will win every time. So, real talk, honest. You're not broken, right? You can fix this. You're patterned, and patterns can change, but only if you see them, you interrupt them, and you repeat the new ones. Your conscious mind makes the plan. Your subconscious mind runs the pattern. So, Sunday night, you're fired up. I'm tracking. I'm staying on plan This is my week. I have my live coaching call with Kelly in the Shredder, the clubhouse, and I am going to stay on plan. That's your conscious mind. Now, fast forward to Saturday. You're at a game, you're at a party, you're home relaxing with your husband or wife, and all of a sudden, it's like you didn't even think about it, right? You're grabbing the chips and salsa. You're pouring that glass of wine. You're stopping tracking. And later you're like, why did I do that? That right there, that wasn't a decision. It was not a decision. That was a pattern. Your brain recognized the situation and said, this is what we always do here. And it ran the program, it ran the pattern. So here's the shift I need you to make. I want you to hear this. Stop saying, I lack discipline, and start saying, I have a pattern here. Because if it's a pattern, it can be changed. So stop saying, I lack discipline. In fact, discipline is our word in the clubhouse for 2026. Stop saying, I lack discipline, and start saying, I have a pattern here. Because if it's a pattern, it can be changed. You're not broken. You just need to run a different program and not repeat the pattern. And once you see that, you pause it, you interrupt it, you start choosing differently. That's where your power is. Not in being perfect, but in catching the moment. Because awareness is what breaks the cycle. So this week, I want you to ask yourself, where do I tend to fall off? And instead of judging it, let's get curious about it. Because once you understand your patterns, you can start to change them. Keep it simple, stay consistent. Remember, you're always doing better than you think you are. I hope this was helpful. Would you let me know? Would you tag me in your stories? Screenshot this, tag me in your stories. Let me know if this was helpful, and I will see you next week.